wiped out his whole family, baby mama, granny.
But guess who was on that bus with me? Eric Holder. Nigga, that everything I love. He was right there on the same bus, and it's crazy because I'm tamed up. I'm with a few homies. I'm with a homie from 60s too. He looks back, everybody on the bus like, what the f? I swear to God. And then he's like, you Eric Holder? He's like, yeah, it's crazy. Everything I love. He got pissed on and some more shit, spit on.
They were pissing and spitting on him in the bus?
Hell yeah, squirting piss on his ass.
Like, they went and did John's that same day. People's is dead behind that. And it's like, most would have been like, I ain't got shit to live for. Shit, y'all people.
Nipsey Hussle's tragic death sent shockwaves through the world, shaking the music industry, his community, and fans everywhere to the core. But who could have imagined the fallout for his career, Eric Holder, would spiral into something this intense, this chaotic, and frankly, this extreme?
After that happened, they went and shot up this family house. They wiped out his whole family, baby mama, granny, dead. Like, they went and did John's that same day.
It's like watching a real-life cautionary tale unfold, with consequences rippling far beyond the courtroom. So, here's how the story unfolds. Eric Holder, the man convicted of murdering Nipsey, has been sentenced to a staggering 60 years in prison.
Hip-hop star Nipsey Hussle was gunned down in 2019, and today, Holder Jr. was sentenced to 60 years to life.
Justice on paper seems served, but long before the gavel even dropped, Holder started facing a storm of consequences outside the legal system. Rumors swirled about a brutal shootout that allegedly targeted his family, leaving devastating casualties in its wake. As if that weren't chilling enough, word on the street suggests anyone daring to visit or associate with him might face deadly consequences too. It's almost as if Nipsey's legacy has created an invisible shield of vengeance around his memory, and Holder's family seems desperate to distance themselves from paying further prices in blood. And then there's prison, where Holder's life hasn't exactly been smooth sailing either. Stories of mistreatment and violence have surfaced, painting a bleak picture of his existence behind bars.
Rapper Nipsey Hussle's alleged killer was attacked on his way to court. Eric Holder's attorney tells TMZ that he was attacked by two people while in a holding cell. Holder needed 3 staples after being cut.
One former inmate even recalled a harrowing incident during Holder's transfer to prison, describing the merciless abuse endured.
But guess who was on that bus with me? Eric Holder. Nigga, that everything I love. He was right there on the same bus, and it's crazy because I'm tamed up. I'm with a few homies. I'm with a homie from 60s too. He looks back, everybody on the bus like, what the f? I swear to God. And then he's like, you Eric Holder? He's like, yeah, it's crazy. Everything I love. He got pissed on and some more shit, spit on.
They were pissing and spitting on him in the bus?
Hell yeah, squirting piss on his ass.
While some shrug off his fate, others can't help but wonder, is this the beginning of the end for Holder? Could his time in prison be even shorter than anyone expected? Not because of early release, but because of what happens when revenge and justice blur into one dangerous force. Nipsey's influence was undeniable. He was adored, respected, and cherished not just in his neighborhood, but across the entire rap world. It's likely Holder never anticipated just how far that influence would reach, or how fiercely people would rally to honor Nipsey's memory. The big question now is, does Holder regret pulling that trigger? Or is it too late for regret to matter? Let's unpack and see how deep it goes. So here's the thing. After Eric Holder shot Nipsey Hussle, the streets were buzzing with whispers that revenge was swift and brutal, with claims floating around that his entire family might have been targeted in a wave of retaliatory attacks.
After that happened, they went and shot up family house. They wiped out his whole family, baby mama, granny, dead. Like, they went and did John's that same day.
While nothing official confirmed this, several unverified reports hinted that at least 2 of Holder's family members had either been offed or shot at as payback for Nipsey's murder. And even DJ Academics, a big name in hip-hop media, chimed in saying family members of Holder had been attacked. This, of course, sparked a massive debate about how far people were willing to go to seek vengeance for Nipsey, but it didn't stop there. The conversation only got messier. Tariq Nasheed, another outspoken voice and an LA resident, didn't hold back, claiming that Holder was notorious in the neighborhood as a snitch and might have been involved in other K-ings too. He even took it up a notch, posting a photo that he alleged showed the crime scene of one of Holder's relatives. As this frenzy unfolded, the LAPD reportedly beefed up patrols, trying to keep the peace in the face of mounting tension after Nipsey's tragic death. But let's be real, the rumor mill was spinning at full speed and it wasn't about to slow down. Some folks began whispering that Holder might not have been acting on his own, that he was just a pawn in some larger, more sinister game. The name Big U popped up more than a few times in these conversations, mostly because of his past issues with Nipsey. Word had it that tension between the two flared when Nipsey decided to cut ties with Big U and strike out on his own, which apparently led to some bad blood. According to someone in the rolling 60s who's been dropping her 2 cents on all this fallout might have played a part in what happened.
Because if Big U was actually in on it, I would be like, paid me or you did whatever, and I didn't. And I held up my end of the bargain.
In the days after Nipsey's death, speculation about Big U's involvement ran wild in LA, with people pointing to his clout in the community and his history with Nipsey as reasons he might have been connected.
When that Nipsey first popped off, when it first happened, everybody in LA thought Big U was shitty.
But at the end of the day, all that talk didn't really stick. Eric Holder was the one who pulled the trigger. And for those seeking revenge, that was all they needed to know. As if all this chaos wasn't enough, Holder faced his own share of pain after the shooting. While he was on trial, he got attacked in jail, and according to his lawyer Jansen, it wasn't pretty. He was cut on the back of his head with a razor, his face was swollen, and his eye was messed up. Apparently, 2 inmates jumped him after he'd been transported back to jail following a court appearance.
Rapper Nipsey Hussle's alleged attacked on his way to court. Eric Holder's attorney tells TMZ that he was attacked by 2 people while in a holding cell. Holder needed 3 staples after being cut.
Things got so bad that the judge had to cancel court for the day, telling the jurors to come back later unless they heard otherwise. Rolling Stone reported that Holder was supposed to be kept away from other inmates during transportation, but clearly that plan didn't quite work out, and all of this stems back to the tragic day in May 2019, when Holder allegedly walked up to Nipsey outside his clothing store, The Marathon, and opened fire, hitting him 11 times and injuring 2 others in the process. The whole thing was supposedly caught on video, showing Holder even kicking Nipsey in the head as he lay on the ground bleeding, a moment that shook not just LA but the entire world.
PD District Attorney John McKinney alleged Holder gunned down Nipsey in the parking lot of the Marathon clothing store, walked over to his bullet-riddled body and kicked him in the head.
So here's how it all played out. Right from the start of the trial, Jansen, Eric Holder's lawyer, didn't shy away from the fact that his client did shoot Nipsey Hussle, who was just 33, but he pushed back hard against the idea that it was some cold, calculated plan. This is a case of heat of passion, Jansen told the jurors, explaining that Nipsey had accused Holder of being a snitch. And, well, that kind of talk doesn't just sit quietly in the streets.
A lot of the from his own hood, they gonna feel like Eric Holder was in the right and he did what he was supposed to do as a gangster, as a street.
Where he's from, when you get called a snitch, it's traumatizing. It's basically the worst thing somebody could say to you, so he's saying he snapped.
You've got to remember, these two had history. They grew up in the same neighborhood, and they were both tied to the rollin' 60s neighborhood Crips in South LA. So this wasn't just some random encounter, it was personal. According to Herman Douglas, one of Nipsey's closest friends, the two had a brief conversation just 10 minutes before the shooting. Nipsey brought up this rumor he'd heard about Holder supposedly cooperating with law enforcement and giving up names. Douglas said Holder didn't even seem all that bothered when Nipsey mentioned it, like he was brushing it off, but clearly something must have been simmering beneath the surface because what happened next changed everything. And then there's Brianita Nicholson, Holder's former flame, who laid out a whole different angle when she testified. She said she had driven Holder to a restaurant in the same plaza where Nipsey's Marathon store was located, and while they were there, she overheard Holder confronting Nipsey in this loud, sharp tone, saying, "Did you say I snitched?" before walking off.
Now, what did you hear Eric say? Did you say, "I snitched"? Eric was asking Nipsey if he snitched. And then at that point, she said she took a photo and then she walked off.
After that, Holder got back in the car and told Nicholson to drive around the block, once, twice. And by the time they looped back, she said he was sitting there loading his gun right in the car.
Did he want to eat his food? Then he said drive around. So now he's back in the car with the chili cheese fries, and he asked her to just pull out of the parking lot and to drive around. He said once they came back around the block, they pretty much did a circle. He began to put bullets in the gun.
She even described how he casually told her to park in an alley, took a couple of bites of his chili cheese fries, like this was the most normal thing in the world, and then just walked off toward the store.
She says, I kept stressing to him, let's go. Then he said, wait right here, I'll be right back.
Moments later, she heard gunshots ringing out, and at first she thought about taking off, but then she hesitated, wondering if maybe Holder had been hurt in whatever went down. But then he came running back, jumped in the car, and yelled at her to drive away fast. She said she saw him stash 2 guns in a bag, and even then, she didn't fully put 2 and 2 together. It wasn't until he spent the night at her place and she saw news reports about Nipsey's death that it hit her. Holder might have been the one responsible. And think about that for a second. She had only known this guy for a month, and now she's caught up in one of the most devastating and talked about moments in LA history, which is just wild when you consider how quickly things escalated from a simple car ride to an irreversible tragedy. Nipsey's brother, Black Sam, sat down with Big Boy for an emotional and eye-opening interview, where he talked about everything from Nipsey's life in their childhood to the gut-wrenching day his brother was taken from them. Toward the end of the conversation, Sam got really personal as he shared his memories of that tragic day in 2019. He described how, despite the chaos, there was this flicker of hope as they rushed Nipsey to the hospital, holding on to the belief that maybe, just maybe, his brother would pull through. But when the news came that Nipsey had passed, everything crumbled. It was like the Twilight Zone after that, Sam recalled, his voice heavy with emotion. Everything I believed in, my faith was shattered.
Just couldn't understand it, man. Just like the Twilight Zone after that. Everything I believed in, or my faith in, shattered.
It was a moment that stuck with listeners, showing just how deep the loss cut, not just for Sam, but for everyone who loved Nipsey. Big Boy, never one to shy away from the tough questions, asked Sam if he believed the narrative that Nipsey's Emder was just a random spur-of-the-moment act. That's when Sam started peeling back the layers, revealing some details that painted a much different picture. He explained that whenever Nipsey visited the Marathon store, there was always a protocol, a routine meant to keep him safe. "You're gonna see me with a hoodie on and I got a pistol on me," Sam said, describing how someone would usually be stationed at the door, armed and watching over the scene.
We in the doorway. When Hussle pull up, we in the doorway. You're gonna see me with a hoodie on and I got a pistol on me. You're gonna see one of the team members in a hoodie in the doorway with a pistol. That's protocol. Why the in there didn't follow the protocol? I wasn't there. Why they didn't follow it? Maybe they was around helping the customer, doing some customer service. This is what I'm thinking. Transition into some legitimate selling clothes. But nobody was in the doorway.
But on that particular day, something was off. No one was standing guard, and Nipsey, dressed in shorts and seemingly relaxed, was left vulnerable in a way he never should have been. Sam went on to recall how Eric Holder, the man who ultimately pulled the trigger, first approached Nipsey shirtless, like he was scouting the area. Holder, Sam said, must have noticed the lack of security at the door, seen that Nipsey wasn't on high alert, and made his move. But here's where it gets even more chilling. Holder walked away just like Brianita had confirmed during her testament, only for him to come back minutes later wearing a red shirt. In their neighborhood, Sam explained, nobody wears red shirts. It's practically a rule. You can't even buy one at the local liquor store. To Sam, this detail wasn't just random. It was deliberate. He believed Holder intentionally put on the red shirt to throw people off, to make his actions seem disconnected from the gang-related tensions of the area before sneaking through the alley and carrying out the attack. For Sam, this wasn't just some heat-of-the-moment thing. It was calculated, planned, and devastatingly executed.
From my understanding, old boy walked up with no shirt on first to check the scene, because he know what's going on in that parking lot. He said he came back with a red shirt on, tiptoed through the alley, and went right and started shooting. So to me, that's premeditated. Number one, there's no red shirts in the hood. You can't buy no red shirt. No liquor store sell no red shirt.
Fast forward to the trial, and Holder was eventually sentenced to 60 years to life in prison, with the verdict landing on July 6, 2022, when he was found guilty of first-degree Emder for Nipsey's K-ing.
For count one alone, it would be 50 years to life. The total sentence would be 60 years to life in prison.
The sentence came down hard, as it should, considering the weight of his actions. But Holder wasn't just convicted of Nipsey's Emder. He was also found guilty of 2 counts of attempted voluntary manslaughter and possession of a firearm. He pleaded not guilty to all charges, and while the jury didn't buy his claims of innocence when it came to Nipsey, they did find him not guilty of attempted Emder in relation to 2 men injured during the shooting. After the verdict, Holder's attorney Aaron Jansen expressed disappointment, saying that they planned to appeal the sentence. It was always going to be tough given the high-profile circumstances surrounding the case. Jansen told ABC News, acknowledging just how much attention the trial had received. But he also pointed out a small silver lining in what he saw as an otherwise heavy blow. They were relieved the jury agreed to acquit Holder of the 2 attempted Emder charges, believing those accusations were overblown. Still, for Sam and the rest of Nipsey's loved ones, the focus wasn't on legal technicalities. It was about the irreplaceable loss of a man who wasn't just a rapper, but a community leader, a brother, and a beacon of hope in a neighborhood that needed him. Sam's reflections during that interview served as a painful reminder of how much was lost that day, not just for his family, but for the culture Nipsey worked so hard to uplift. Even though Holder pleaded not guilty to the first-degree Emder charge, he never actually denied pulling the trigger and K-ing Nipsey Hussle. His lawyer Jansen made the case during the trial that while Holder did shoot Hussle, it wasn't some premeditated act. It was a crime of passion, fueled by the heat of the moment. Mr. Holder has always been willing to accept responsibility for the charge of voluntary manslaughter for the life he took. Jansen explained in a statement to ABC News on July 2, 2022. But here's the thing. Nipsey's Emder wasn't Holder's first brush with the law. Turns out, Holder already had a bit of a track record. Back in 2009, he faced charges for domestic violence and battery, though both cases ended up being dismissed. Then there were smaller infractions like getting caught driving without a license in 2011. But things got more serious in 2012, when he was busted for carrying a loaded firearm and a concealed weapon. Holder eventually pled guilty to the first charge, which earned him 180 days in LA County Jail and 3 years of probation. By 2015, he even had a probation violation hearing. Still, nothing in his past compared to the magnitude of what he's dealing with now. On the other hand, Nipsey Hussle was the polar opposite, a beacon of hope for the Crenshaw community. He wasn't just a rapper. He was a community leader who gave back to the same neighborhood he came from. He provided jobs, supported local businesses, and was even in talks with the LAPD about ways to reduce gang violence just days before his tragic death. Nipsey's impact wasn't limited to music or his immediate surroundings. He was a force for change. Born Ermias Joseph Askedom, Nipsey carved out his own lane in the music world, starting with his independent release of Slauson Boy Volume 1, which gained him local buzz and led to deals with Cinematic Music Group and Epic Records. Over the years, he became known for his standout mixtapes, like the Bullets Ain't Got No Name series, The Marathon, and Crenshaw. That last one, Jay-Z himself bought 100 copies at $100 each, a power move that made headlines and solidified Nipsey's hustle as something special. Then came his debut album, Victory Lap, in 2018, which was a massive success, earning a Grammy nomination for Best Rap Album. Even after his passing, Nipsey's influence remained strong, with posthumous Grammy wins for Racks in the Middle and Higher. But Nipsey's story wasn't just about music. He grew up in Crenshaw and got involved with the Rollin' 60s neighborhood Crips as a teenager. At just 14, he left home and started hustling. But by 19, his perspective shifted. A trip to Eritrea with his father and brother in 2004 was life-changing. It inspired him to embrace an entrepreneurial mindset and dedicate himself to uplifting his community. His stage name, Nipsey Hussle, was a nod to his grind and work ethic, a playful take on comedian Nipsey Russell, given to him by a childhood friend who saw his relentless drive. Nipsey Hussle wasn't just an artist. He was a symbol of resilience, ambition, and hope. His death left a void that's still felt today, but his legacy as a leader and visionary for Crenshaw continues to inspire, even in the face of the tragedy and loss that surrounded his life and death. Outside of music, Nipsey Hussle left an unforgettable legacy as a community leader and activist. He co-founded the Marathon clothing store and created Vector 90, a co-working space designed to empower young people in Crenshaw with opportunities in science, technology, and entrepreneurship. Nipsey was dedicated to uplifting his neighborhood, funding school improvements, mentoring students, and speaking out about his own experiences with gang culture to inspire change. He worked on projects like Destination Crenshaw to celebrate Black culture and had even planned a meeting with the LAPD to discuss solutions for reducing gang violence just days before his death.
I went through my emails yesterday and I found the original email to me to set up a meeting with the chief to help improve communication, relationships, and work towards changing the culture and dialogue between LAPD and the inner city.
After his tragic passing, the outpouring of grief from fans, celebrities, and even former President Obama highlighted how much he meant to his community and beyond. His funeral procession through South Central LA drew massive crowds, showing the deep respect and love people had for him. Nipsey's impact didn't stop there. His life inspired gang leaders to take steps toward peace, with many calling ceasefires and holding summits to curb violence. In every sense, Nipsey Hussle was more than a rapper. He was a movement, a visionary, and a symbol of hope for generations to come. And that's all from us today, guys. Thanks for watching.